Just a reminder, today's conference is being recorded.
Okay, so the reason we're recording also is if you have colleagues in your offices who are not able to participate today, they can listen to the webinar later, or if you want to refresh your course later on and a bit of inspiration, it's also for that purpose. So I'm going to shut my mouth now. I'm going to move it over to Tammy. So Tammy, it's all yours.
Thanks, Franca. Well, first off, on behalf of the Cayman Islands Department of Tourism, thank you for joining us today. The romance market is up and vibrant, and we're seeing groups of 40-plus coming to Grand Cayman for their vows. We've moved the romance up the scale of importance in our marketing plans for both 2010 and 2011, and to continue this positive momentum, and we have certainly learned that the expertise of Rebecca has proven to be a vital asset for us. January was a very romantic month for us. We were involved in 2 major wedding shows, one of which where we were a major presenting sponsor, and of course our widely publicized media event, the Tweet Up, where Rebecca enlightened us with some of the key details and information on destination weddings and our romance market. So we're going to continue to have a strong focus on romance, and we look forward to learning more about the ever-changing market. So to lead us into the current trends and keynotes, I would like to introduce Rebecca Grinnals of Engaging Concepts.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. This is my first time. I present a lot, but this is my very first time doing a webinar, so please bear with me. It's very strange but kind of fun to be sitting at home in my sweatpants, if you can, in front of a computer kind of giving you a presentation. That's probably too much information. But wanted to just share with you, and I'll kind of let you know in advance. I talk quickly. I get very excited. I'm very passionate about this topic. But certainly on the left, I can't even guarantee I'll see it. But if there's some questions, or even if you want to type in big letters, slow down, or something if you missed, by all means, do so. So with any further, we'll go ahead and I'll start through the presentation. Just really quick, I probably should have put a real picture of what I look like because this is very kind. I do not wear pants that thin. But this is just a quick background on who we are. The name of our company is Engaging Concepts. It's myself, who's hanging from doing pull-ups, I think, and Catherine Arcee, who is not with us today, but it's just the two of us. And we are what we call expert or strategic consultants to the wedding and honeymoon industry. And a lot of times people ask us, what is Engaging Concepts? You know, people, of course, assume that we work with brides or that somehow we plan weddings. And we did that once long ago back in the day at Walt Disney World. But basically what we do is we consult to international hotels and resorts, destinations like our wonderful client, the Cayman Islands Department of Tourism, and the sponsor of today's webinar, the global media, iconic brands. We've had clients such as Harley Davidson and a number of other big clients like that. Developers who are looking at developing new projects, new resorts. We've been brought in very close on the front end in some really exciting projects where we get to actually weigh in on developers before they even build properties, and they're not just putting a gazebo at the end of at the corner end of a resort and calling it a day. They're actually really developing around it. And luxury wedding professionals, so all across the world. We have been very fortunate, as I mentioned, to have the Cayman Islands as a very long-time client. Many of you may or may not know, but I was actually very instrumental in starting the Disney Fairy Tale Wedding and Honeymoon department back in 1991 and was with Disney for 12 years and built that into an international business. And we've also worked with Sandals, with Intercontinental Hotels in Asia. So I've spent some time in Shanghai, Tokyo, London, and about 18 countries in the Caribbean over the past 9 years that our company has been involved. We also produce a luxury wedding business symposium, a summit. We've done 4 of them. They're called Engage, and we're thrilled that we'll be returning to the Cayman Islands for Engage 10. If you want more information on that, you can find it at engage10.com. But we bring together the very, very hottest, biggest names in the international wedding industry, and it's a very intimate event, but really it's all focused on business. There are no brides there, and it's all about building business and maximizing the potential from the wedding business, and that's very exciting. So I wanted to share that as well. This is my slow side. But I'm going to kind of jump right into the presentation today, and I know that all of you are currently working with brides. Some of you are newer at working with brides than others. Many of you have been for quite some time, but I'm going to kind of try and give you an overview and a snapshot of today's destination wedding industry, as well as some of the opportunities that I see for you and for really wonderful travel and wedding professionals that are out there today. But what we know is that our brides, to kind of frame up where we are right now, is that many brides across the globe are what we're calling in crisis. It's been a really rough 18 months to almost 2 years at this point for a lot of people, not only people in business, but also for these brides. So imagine getting engaged during one of the world's worst financial meltdowns and turning to your father for what you have been dreaming of your whole life and finding out that either he's lost it in the stock market, or your fiance lost his job, or you've lost your job, or maybe everyone has their jobs, but many of your guests have really suffered and have taken a hit and are, you don't want to have the blinged out, over the top wedding that you sort of dreamed of all your life as a little girl, and now you're at a point where you're really torn, because even if you have the money to have the wedding of your dreams, all of a sudden it's not so cool to do that anymore because it looks like you're flaunting or wasting money. So we've really seen brides very conflicted over the past 18 months or so. This is a slide, actually, a graphic from the New York Times that just kind of shows you, they did an entire feature article, you could Google it, it's back from December 19th of 2008, where what we saw brides and grooms do during this sort of crisis is start to burst the bubble on different parts, on part of their dream. And they're really taking a look at, is this critical? Is this something that looks like I'm, really spending money where I shouldn't be spending when others are hurting? Is this something we can do without? Do we no longer have the money we once had set aside for this wedding, whether it was the parents that set aside or the bride and groom that had the money? Is that gone because the equity in their house is gone or their nest egg is gone? And are we having to make some really difficult choices and sort of burst the bubble, if you will, on some wedding planning dreams? And so what we saw is a lot of couples start to pop the bubbles of different things and prioritize what was really important. The fastest way for any bride and groom to control their budget is by shrinking their guest list. And believe it or not, this graphic was in an article in the Boston Globe. So we saw worldwide media really focusing on this market and wondering what was happening. And one of the things that we saw happen right away was that brides and grooms had to make the very difficult choice, and this is sort of funny, but actually what was happening was she's sort of erasing a poor guest right off the guest list. And some others on the right-hand side got to stay there, and they're smiling happily, but this guy's like, what happened to me? And that happened. So where a couple of years ago it was bring on the bling, bring on the platinum wedding, everything was over the top, we really saw that one of the fastest ways for brides and grooms to control these out-of-control wedding budgets was by shrinking their guest list and cutting people that weren't essential to their wedding. And as mentioned earlier, the other thing that we've seen that has not gone away for sure, even with a bump in recovery, is that brides and grooms are prioritizing. This, again, was in a major national U.S. newspaper, and it shows sort of what maybe once would have been in a beautiful ballroom with a 7-tier elaborate over-the-top wedding cake, now relegated down to a cupcake as bride and grooms decided that that wasn't something important and they could live without it. So gone, and not that I ever truly think that this day existed, but gone are the days where brides were just sort of skipping around and throwing their money to any wedding vendor who offered them something that they were intrigued with. Those days are long gone, and it's forced all of us to really take a hard look at the value we provide, at the services we provide, and how to effectively charge for that, and how to have brides realize that it's worth paying for. The good news, even that's kind of a lot of bad news necessarily, but the good news, and this is actually a graphic from a Shanghai daily newspaper about a year ago, was that weddings have really proven to be globally recession resistant. So while brides and grooms have maybe made choices that are a little more challenging, what they haven't done is cancel their weddings. They've continued to get married, and I don't really know if they're going down in the Titanic throwing money off the bow, but certainly that was how a Shanghai newspaper saw it in the midst of the financial crisis. And the one thing that we know is a constant is what we call the B word, but it's budget. And no matter the circumstances of a bride and groom, no matter if they have $1 million to spend on their wedding, what we do know is that every bride has a budget. And certainly what we've seen is that the budgets have shrunk and people are really wanting to do a lot more for less. And it's the cold, hard reality of the world that we live in is that we have to work around this budget and hope that within their budget, we all stay a part of it. The good news for us is that destination weddings are still taking off. And I'll tell you that there was really a lot of speculation among everybody that, sorry, my other line is ringing. Let me turn that off. I didn't realize that was going to happen. What we have seen is that destination weddings are continuing to really take off. And again, there was a lot of speculation among people in the wedding industry that when this crisis kind of started to come down and everyone started to realize what was happening was, oh my gosh, are people going to stop traveling? Is this really going to sort of be the end to this trend in destination weddings? And I'd say a month or two went by and those of us who sort of watch very carefully, those in the travel industry, those in the wedding industry, looked at it, and what we realized was actually that quite the opposite happened, and that's the good news for every one of us on this call, including me, is that because of, if you go back to a few slides earlier, because of the shrinking guest list and the prioritization, we saw a lot of couples who said, I no longer can afford nor do I want the big wedding in Toronto on a Saturday night for 350 of my parents' closest family and friends. Instead, I want to go away somewhere with my fiance that has meaning to us or that we've always dreamed of going, and maybe just take 30 of my closest family and friends or 35 of our closest, the people that really mean the most to us. And those are the decisions that they've made, and we have across the board seen the numbers for destination weddings, even amidst all of this sort of doom and gloom, take off, and that's great news. A couple of statistics here to share with you. Destination Weddings and Honeymoons magazine, which is, I believe, sold in Canada as well, forecasts the market for such weddings to grow to $16 billion U.S. The dollar figures I use will be in U.S., just to let you know, since I'm based here. $16 billion a year from 13 in 2008. And again, back in 2001, this was just a $3 billion market. And a lot of the trend industry experts expect that this is going to continue on until it reaches a peak of percentage-wise. Right now it's about 16% of the U.S. wedding market. I'm not sure the exact numbers in Canada, but we expected it to actually go over 20 to 23% of the market. So it is not stopping. The other bright spot is that despite the recession, destination wedding budgets are on the rise. In fact, they're up to almost a little over $20,000 when all in, all said and done. And so that's quite exciting, and you know, certainly I'm sure that every bride and groom that you're talking to doesn't come with a $20,000 budget, but those are average budgets. So there are quite a few that are going with a number of guests who truly are spending the money, and that's exciting and a great opportunity for everyone here. Just to let you know, the Caribbean is hotter than ever. The Caribbean accounts for over half of international destination weddings from the U.S., followed by Mexico, and we know that in the U.S., Florida is tops, and Hawaii. But we have seen, and I don't know if you've seen this or are hearing this from your brides and grooms, a real big fundamental shift away from Hawaii. And I don't know if that's happening in Canada as well, but it is definitely happening in the United States. In fact, I believe Hawaii was down over 16%. And I think a lot of that has to do with the cost for guests and reduced lift from some of the airlines. The big news is that 48 is the average size of a destination wedding, and that's huge. And I kind of use this, I'm going to use the next few slides to illustrate where I think all of you should be focusing your time. And it's not that we don't love our our double bride and grooms that want to go and just get away and, have it just be the two of them, because they are certainly a core part of anyone who's marketing to the destination wedding market. But the real opportunity in this market, especially for travel professionals, is this size of a guest. And I'm going to just kind of show you a couple of slides in a minute to illustrate that. Because the average spending per guest is $400. And that is because they're generally over there for a couple of days, and what we see couples doing is saying, I am not having 350 people on a Saturday night in a hotel ballroom in a major city. I am going away with these cherished people. They have made great sacrifices to join us for our wedding. We are going to really make it about them and really spend the money on them. So again, it's more than triple the size of an average traditional wedding, and that's extremely powerful. So one of the key strategies that I tell everyone who is certainly in the destination wedding and the travel industry is to focus on these group weddings and all of the different services that you can provide and planning services and to these guests. Because if you look at all these pictures, and all of these are groups that have recently been married in the Cayman Islands, just to sort of illustrate, it really does happen, and these groups go and have a really terrific time. But every one of these guests needs travel assistance. So the opportunity for you not only to be invaluable to your brides and grooms in terms of helping them plan their wedding, choose the destination, work through the logistics, etc., but what also is so powerful is the fact that you have the potential now to take all of this stress and pressure off the bride who, trust me, really would much rather be worrying about her color palette, worrying about all of those fun, glamorous, girly details she's dreamed of her whole life. She really doesn't care about whether Aunt Margie can get to the destination and how many flights she needs to take and who's going to pick her up at the airport and whether the resort has handicapped accessible bathrooms and all of those kinds of things. So what I always say is that my feeling is that the true opportunity for you as travel professionals is to wrap your arms around the potential of the guests and helping them, attend this wedding, taking all of that pressure and stress off the bride and really making it something that is truly all about them. And again, these are just some recent weddings in the Cayman Islands. You can see these wonderfully thrilled brides and grooms and everything that goes along with it. And it's just so exciting. And then the ancillary benefit that you have is that every one of these brides and grooms, every one of these guests has the potential to become one of your long-term customers because they're exposed to you and all of the wonderful services that you offer. And so when the time comes for them to either A, plan their own destination wedding or honeymoon, or their next family or group travel or business travel, they already have a relationship with you. And so what sort of opportunities do you have to convert every one of those guests in those pictures to a long-term client of yours and your agency? So that is just a huge potential. The next series of slides I'm going to take you all through is from the website theknot.com, and they did a recent study of 18,000 brides and grooms in the U.S. and Canada and provided us with some of these great statistics just to give you an idea, a quick snapshot of who today's bride and groom are and some of their behaviors. And I'll go quickly through this because the good news is because it's being recorded, you can come back and sort of fast forward probably to these slides and look at them again. But again, average age of brides is 29 years old. They're educated. They're employed full-time. They're older. They're better educated, and they're much more affluent than they've ever been before. And most of them have traveled. They have really great household incomes, and they're definitely the kind of clientele you want to have to grow with. The destination wedding market is over 300,000 weddings a year, and this is just U.S., so it's even a great percentage also for you in Canada. They consider a destination wedding anyone who's traveling 200 miles or more away from home. And again, the numbers earlier, about 20,600 was the Destination Weddings and Honeymoon Survey. The Knot's even rosier. They look at spending an average of $21,285. And that does not include the engagement ring, the travel expenses, or the honeymoon. So that is really, that 21,000 plus is truly just around the spending of the destination wedding and everything that goes into that. More than a quarter of these brides are spending more in excess of $25,000. They come to us with a much higher average number of guests than Destination Weddings and Honeymoons does. Their research bears out that the Knot brides on average have 77 guests, which is incredibly powerful, an incredibly powerful opportunity for everyone involved. And of course, 1 in 3 purchase their travel, their accommodations, or their activities for guests. I find that to be a pretty high number, and you all may disagree with me, and you may see that number as bearing out, but I think that sometimes, and it may just be the accommodations or more of the activities for guests where they may do a golf outing or a spa or something where they cover it, less so than the travel and the accommodations. Again, more than 80% of destination wedding guests require overnight lodging, and I would assume those for more of those, the closer in ones, but certainly anyone who's attending a destination wedding in the Caribbean or in the Cayman Islands is going to require overnight accommodations, and that's a great opportunity as well. And as mentioned earlier, the Caribbean continues at 37% to really own sort of the destination wedding market in terms of market share. And when asked why a destination wedding, not surprising what a lot of people said. They wanted something fun or exotic. They wanted a more intimate wedding with fewer guests. This goes back to what we saw earlier about controlling the guest list. They wanted a destination wedding that was special to us as a couple. We know that couples who host destination weddings are very, very predisposed to have traveled quite a bit internationally anyway. So they're a well-traveled couple. They're not necessarily, this is not necessarily their first trip ever out of the country. They want less stress. That is a big part of this, and that's where you come in. The easier you can make it for them, the more streamlined you can make the planning process, and the less stress you can take from them and take onto yourself, the better, and the more happy, delighted clients that you're going to have. I thought it was very interesting as well that 26% of these couples say that they wanted their wedding somewhere they'd never been before. So, you know, that's wonderful, and I'm sure you're hearing that as they come through and meet with you or touch base with you as an initial lead. A lot of couples love doing the research, or they already knew they wanted a destination wedding. This is sort of just what some of the emotional triggers are. It's sort of all over the board, but you see internationally, destination weddings are very aspirational in today's society. We're seeing celebrities do destination weddings, and we're seeing brides and grooms sort of always dream of having a faraway wedding or a destination wedding, and that's relatively new. We haven't seen that other than the past few years where we've started to see the celebs do it. I put this slide in here. I think this is very, very important, and I'd like you to kind of pay special attention to it. The Internet is a constant. We know this. And as Franca mentioned earlier, I know you all have a great, exciting new promotion with Facebook and a brand new website. And I cannot stress the importance of social media, of really leveraging Twitter and Facebook and websites and all of these things, message boards, to get out there and to connect with these couples and let them tell your stories this way. But I also wanted to show you sort of Internet, and then as you see, travel agent is not as influential probably as we'd all like to see it on this call. It's really only about, let's say, between 8 and 9%, so a total of 17% is very influential or somewhat influential. But if you go above that, you can see also where wedding and event planners are also something that's very influential and very important when they're researching a destination. And I know that one of the things that you all are working on is really increasing the level of service that you all offer as planners and combination travel agents / planners, and just know that in today's bride, they're so busy, they're stressed, they're very overwhelmed, and the more services and planning aspects that you can add to this to take that off of them, and the more value you can provide, the more likely they are going to be to go with you and really trust you. We know the decisions aren't made alone. The groom, thankfully, is much more involved than he's ever been before, 81%, and we especially see this with destination weddings. Grooms are less involved in traditional weddings, not surprisingly, but definitely with destination weddings, we're seeing the family and the friends have an element of decision, but grooms love destination weddings because they're so much more relaxed, and he gets to kind of enjoy it a lot more as well. Again, about half of the international couples use a wedding planner. And so we just know that destination weddings have so many more moving pieces and parts than a hometown wedding, that the good news is that they very much know what they don't know, and they know that they're relying on a wedding planner to really come in and assist them every step of the way. And they have more days to plan for. Again, this is not a 4 or 5 hour event on a Saturday night at a country club or a restaurant or a hotel ballroom. This is on average 3 to more than 3 days, and so there are a variety of different events and experiences and things that these brides and grooms want to plan for their guests, plan for themselves, and they need assistance in pulling it all together and sort of making everything work and not fall apart, and also taking that stress away from them. They have a lot that they want to do, and again, I'm not going to these are eye charts, but you can go back and kind of take a look at these later if you'd like. But it just shows you that destination weddings have really evolved, that they're really no longer what we thought of them a couple of years ago, where they were, a couple and, a simple bouquet, and they're standing on the beach with a minister, and there's really not too much more to it. They've become much more involved, where they're really looking at all of the elements that you would see in a traditional wedding, be a part of it. And so, again, for an international wedding, we are seeing brides kind of go outside of the packages. If you look at this and see how many hired independently, the videographer, the band, the caterer, the reception, the DJ, the cake designer, the photographer, all of these things, they are much more savvy and sophisticated, and style means a lot more to today's bride than it's ever meant before. And therefore, they are looking for advice, and they're not afraid to go outside of kind of that resort box. And we're seeing a real move away from just pick and choose off the resort list of options, and brides doing their own research or working very closely with their travel professional and their wedding planner or both to make these selections. And again, it's not just for the wedding. They are definitely planning rehearsal dinners and planned group activities, golfing, sightseeing, tours, a morning after brunch, an after party the night of the wedding. So this notion of just everybody who wants a destination wedding is just two people and no frills has really gone by the wayside, and that provides a lot of opportunity. And just a couple quick slides, because as travel professionals, I am sure that every one of you absolutely books honeymoons. So just to kind of give you a little bit of snapshot really quickly, the honeymoon must go on. We've not seen couples cancel honeymoons. They may be staying a bit closer to home, or they may just be pushing it back a few months so they can get their savings back up. But we definitely have not seen couples stop honeymooning. 9 out of 10 engaged couples are planning a honeymoon. Most of those, 80%, going within the week of the wedding. And again, they're spending on average about $4,800 for that time. And, I love the bottom one, where 14% and 6%, so almost a full 20%, are actually going more than 10 days or 14 days. And so we love those long lengths of stays. And where are they going? No surprise, I'm sure, to any of you. They are continuing the Caribbean at 30% of that. We have definitely seen, and I would think you all can tell me this more because you're on the front line, a drop in some of the more exotic. We have seen a drop-off for South Pacific, a drop-off for Europe, where a few years ago, I'd say maybe 3 years ago, Tahiti and Bali and Greece and Turkey and all these places were all the rage, and we've seen a kind of a pullback and a tightening to still wonderful, wonderful experiences, but maybe a little less long haul and a little closer to home, and that's why we've seen such a great increase in the Caribbean as well as the pricing. And again, the honeymoon trends, and you'll kind of see it, Hawaii is the only one that's gone down, and we've seen that definitely for destination weddings, whereas all others are sort of on par, equal, or actually growing. And when do they book? On average for honeymoons, couple research 7 months before their average, and they don't book until a lot closer in, generally 3 to 5 months, which I think is always the upside in a way for travel professionals, is that hopefully there is still some business coming in, even if you're looking at your forecast and saying, oh, it's a little soft. The good news is honeymooners are probably coming in around 3 months and booking it. So we're going to shift gears a little bit, and I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about how you can take all of these numbers and all of these statistics and kind of make them apply to you. And really leverage what you have, which is your expert knowledge. And the definition of an expert is someone who is very skillful, having much training and knowledge in a special field. And the definition of a consultant is an individual who provides counsel and assistance to a client on specific assignments. And clearly, you all are not only experts, but you're also consultants and confidants, and I'm sure on some days much like a psychoanalyst or a psychologist if you get the crying brides who are stressed about things. But basically, you have been brought in, and they are coming to you to provide counsel and assistance using your incredible expertise. And really, I look at this as redefining your role within the wedding. There's a huge opportunity as the shifting winds of what today's brides and grooms, their behaviors and what they're doing, is there's an opportunity to redefine your role and establish yourself as a strategic planning partner that are going to help these couples plan for an unforgettable wedding and all of the things that go into it that will pay off for years to come. Not only is it going to pay off for years to come in terms of the bride and groom actually becoming your lifelong client, but again, go back to those slide after slide after slide that showed 30 guests, 50 guests, 75 guests, hands in the air, incredible, one of the most amazing weekends of their life. Go back to that and really say, what incredible opportunity is for you to have that pay off for you as well. And for those guests, besides the bride and groom, to become very powerful brand ambassadors and do your selling for you and make your referrals. It's really important to understand today's bride, obviously, and we gave a little bit of insight back in the beginning, but really a bride gets a ring and she is totally overwhelmed and she has no idea what to do and where to start. And as an expert for you all, as in all things destination weddings, you are an invaluable resource in helping them navigate the where and the how of planning. And if you look at the graphic on the right, the brides have these I-do lists that are just completely overwhelming them, and where you can come in and just add so much value is, as travel professionals who also offer planning, is to just come in and say, let me take these burdens off of you. Let me shave. I can't take all of those lists, but I certainly can take half of them or whatever it is that the services are that you offer, and really assist them and help them in planning their day. These brides are totally overwhelmed. They are overwhelmed with options for their wedding and all of the media influences that are bombarding them. And so for you, you're sort of the beacon in the calm of the storm. You are the opportunity for them to really to say, I'm going to take this stress off of you. I am going to really, really help you plan everything for your wedding and make it just an absolutely perfect event. And I can't overstate that enough. You keep hearing me say the word stress, take the stress away, etc. But I really can't overstate enough when you're talking to brides in not only your marketing and when you're at a bridal show and when you first have the chance to engage with them, is just, how much, and the testimonials that you pull from past clients, how really critical it is for you to share with them how much of the stress of the wedding you can take on. You can't take over the family stress and the squabbles and the politics that exist in every family, but what you can do is say, don't worry about any of your guest travel. Don't worry about the airlines. Don't worry about the connections. Don't worry about the resort options and which one is best for which guest. There are so many things that you can help them do, and those are the things where really and truly you're providing value. The brides want and crave honest guidance and advice, and so the more authentic and transparent you can be with them, the more you can really guide them and say, I'm your partner. I am here not to, make a big commission from you. I am here to help guide you and give you advice based on the experience that I've had from doing this for X number of years and X number of other weddings. And really, in terms of matching them up with the perfect destination, the more you know about great destinations and the more you uncover what your couples are really looking for, and then you are able to turn around and match them up with one that maybe they didn't think about or they didn't uncover in their early research, that meets their criteria, that exceeds their expectations, helping them stay in the budget, you literally will have a client for life, and they will sing your praises to the rafters and to all of their friends and family and all of that. No one else in this market, and you have to believe this every day when you wake up, and I'm sure many of you, if not all, already do, no one else is poised to collaborate and consult with your clients than you are. No one else is in the position that you are. You have all of this incredible support for you to create effective solutions that meet their goals and deliver these results. sort of a little dip over to the side. We're going to talk a little bit about some trends or at least some insights into what we're seeing brides and grooms do, particularly with destination weddings. The biggest, and we touched on it earlier, is that brides say that technology is central to their lifestyle. So even if you in your own business are not maybe as tech savvy as you think you need to be, if I can tell you one thing that you've got to do is sort of get schooled as quickly as possible in being able to talk to these brides in the same way that they are talking to each other and that they are looking to be talked to. This is a real picture of a real bride on her wedding day with her iPhone, taking a picture, just taken a picture of herself moments before she walks down the aisle. So we know that these iPhones and smartphones and PDAs and Blackberries and everything else are absolutely central to their lifestyle. We see brides using technology for all of their important things. We see brides out shopping and finding things and really saying, I am, absolutely, it's a must-have for, me as I plan my wedding and all of that kind of stuff. Hold on just a second, please. Sorry, just a quick step away from that. But if you don't feel comfortable enough in yourself, we know that these brides today are texting, and they're on Facebook, and they're on Twitter, and they're sharing their experiences. I can't tell you enough. The best advice I can give you is to just jump in and really, really try as much as possible to understand what they're doing. We know that brides are using iPhone apps now to keep track of their wedding details. They're getting instant opinion from others via text message. And so while I certainly don't say to all of you, you need to start texting every bride you have, do find out how they want to be communicated with, and do realize that they're turning around after every single experience with you, whether it's an email or a phone call or a one-on-one consultation, and they're sharing instant feedback about their experience with you with everyone who follows them. And so you have to be mindful that we know we live in such a transparent world. And so, it can make you or it can break you, and I've seen it do both. And so it's even if you don't start to Twitter every day or, all of these things that you probably know you should be doing, the one thing to know is that you can never forget that even if you're not doing it, your clients are. And so just be mindful that there's never an email that's a little frustrated or a little bit short, or there's never a phone conversation where you're sort of exasperated because they keep changing their mind, because they will turn around and share that and your name and your, I'm frustrated with my travel agent or my wedding planner or whatever it may be. So something to be just very aware of. This is actually a real picture of a bride and groom. It just shows how uber connected today's bride is. If you look carefully, the groom is actually reciting his wedding vows on a BlackBerry. So he's scrolling down, which is scary but very true. And again, I found this on a photographer's website of a real wedding ceremony. And again, this instant gratification. We are seeing more and more photographers offer iPhone packages and things where literally brides and grooms can leave the resort or leave their destination with a little video, a montage, or pictures, instant pictures that they can take with them on their wedding day. Another trend that's come up lately is that brides and grooms are actually notating a tweet of honor. So you have a traditional maid of honor, you have a best man, but what we're seeing is that some people are actually nominating a good tweeter, someone who will Twitter throughout the course of the wedding weekend of everything that's happening for family and friends who are, and coworkers and followers who are following along back home. And it is a very real phenomenon, actually. Many of you probably saw this. It made the rounds of YouTube. It even made CNN and a lot of other national news headlines. And I can't click on this, but it's on YouTube. It's a groom who actually changed his Facebook status mid-ceremony. He changed it from engaged to married in the mid-ceremony. So crazy, yes, but it's happening. And as mentioned earlier, we're seeing more and more men involved. So make sure as you're doing your marketing, make sure when you're at bridal shows, make sure in all of your communication, what we all have been so trained over all of these years in the wedding industry is bride, 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 bride's a decision maker. It's all about her, all about the girl in the white dress. But our grooms are more involved than ever before, and don't overlook them, particularly in destination weddings. because there's so much fun around a destination weddings, and we know guys at heart really just care about having fun, these guys are really involved in every single decision, from who the travel professional is going to be that they engage, to the location that they choose, to the resort, to all of the different elements that are going to be put out there for their guests. They care. So just make sure you're not, by accident, excluding them, because traditionally you've always worked with the bride. We know that the grooms have a lot more influence, and that's only going to continue to be more. We also have seen a huge upswing in what we call multi-generational weddings. These multi-generational weddings are often what we also call encore weddings, but they have family. It's a blending of two families, and obviously I'm sure all of you have many, many clients that's the case. And just make sure that you have some special things. Maybe you invest in some special gifts or something for young children, but realize it's a big time for the whole family, not just the bride and groom. And anything you can do, whether you create a newsletter or a list of tips for the bride and groom to sort of blend two families, or some special touches you can arrange with the resort ahead of time that really honor and acknowledge the children, those sorts of things, and really become a specialist in weddings with children. That would be a great niche to sort of own that I haven't seen a lot of people do yet. And, of course, we love our encore weddings. I mentioned it earlier, but weddings are no longer not just for our 27 and 29-year-old fresh-faced brides. More and more couples are marrying later in life or marrying for a second or third time, and they still want to have a really magical, special time. And by nature, destination weddings really fit the bill. And so just make sure that in your marketing and in your sales materials and in your messaging that you're not skewing everything towards that 29-year-old first-time bride, that you also are, again, honoring and recognizing that brides come in all shapes and sizes and colors and ages and styles, and that you sort of reflect that as well. Some other kind of fun trends we've seen lately is definitely the two-dress brides. This was an article just a few months ago in the New York Times, once again, about brides who just cannot make a decision on which dress they want, and so they are fashionistas at heart, and they'll have a great dress for the ceremony and then change into something a little more fun and flirty and sexy maybe for their after party or for their reception. So just a fun trend. We're definitely seeing color come alive, whether it's the something blue in the shoes or a great sash on a dress, those kinds of things. This is actually a fun, I put this in here just because we've actually seen couples get married en route to their destination. And they charter a plane and they actually walk down the aisle, literally, it's the aisle of the plane, as they're heading off to an aisle. And that's kind of a fun thing, but this is a real bride and groom. This is not a marketing shot, but I thought that was kind of fun. Literally, truly taking Love is in the Air to new heights. Pardon the puns. We see brides and grooms going to great lengths. I put ain't no mountain high enough, but we see brides and grooms getting married at the top of mountains, getting married in dramatic locations. Going green, the green trend, the eco trend continues to be huge. I know it's very, very big in Canada. But what sort of specialization can you do in becoming a green or an eco wedding expert? Because there will be a segment of your market that is always concerned about that, and whether, again, it's putting out a newsletter that has some tips on eco weddings, green weddings, or whether it's saying that you specialize in them and really knowing the destinations around the world that are LEED certified and that are truly eco and green, and helping a bride and groom plan a destination wedding that is very green and eco. Those are some great opportunities and trends as well. And one of the big trends we see, and I just put a few pictures in here, is, and it's actually part of a bigger trend, and it's the trend of photography becoming so important. And really what worked up until recently, which was the resort photographer who also is the bartender at night, who someone gave a camera to and said this is part of your job, is almost extinct. That brides and grooms are so passionate about photography and that they're being schooled via all of these amazing style blogs and wedding magazines. They're really being schooled that, guess what, photography is so important. At the end of the day, it's all you have left. So we see a huge trend here towards brides and grooms really posing as fashion models and doing the trash the dress sessions, the day after sessions, going around to these incredible locations. These are all taken in Cayman, jumping off the dock and kind of doing the from here to eternity sort of thing, and really having a great time. And Trash the Dress continues to be a big trend. But these are upsell opportunities, and really understanding that brides and grooms are willing to spend the money and finding out where the great photographers are, partnering with some really great photographers, and offering just these spectacular kinds of day after sessions like we did in Grand Cayman. Another thing to do with just any couple, whether they're romantic getaway or you're planning a honeymoon, is what's been called a flirt session, and it's arranging with a photographer in advance and sort of pre-selling this to your couples. These are just sort of some really neat. This was a couple who was just on an anniversary trip. They have 3 kids back home, and you know what? They went around the resort and just had a fantastic time, and sort of kind of rekindled the romance from their honeymoon 12 years earlier. And then they have these great pictures to show and capture it. So what kind of upsells can you do for just your existing romance getaway clients, and offering and partnering with photographers to, on island or on site to offer these kinds of things in advance so they can kind of plan for it and all that good stuff. And again, we're seeing couples marrying their passions, diving. This is an under-the-sea kind of, in Grand Cayman, we see couples that do underwater weddings, pirate weddings, motorcycle weddings, you name it. There's something that is for everyone there. So make sure to kind of go back to this. You really do a great session, a phone consultation or an in-person consultation or even an email questionnaire, where you ask far beyond the traditional dates, rates, and space that everybody else is asking them. Really try to uncover their style. Ask those probing questions that say, where do you all like to eat out? What's your idea of a perfect weekend? You know, where do you shop? Where do you dine? Ask some, you know, certainly you don't ask too personal questions, but questions that sort of give you an insight into what they're passionate about, what their hobbies are, what they do for a living, what they love to do, and then find ways to match them up with the destinations, with resorts, and with service providers that can help really infuse that personality and that style into their wedding. Something else we're seeing that, again, just sort of a random trend, but these unity sand ceremonies, we all know that, you know, unity candles blow out. Any kind of candle on a beach or a mountain or outside is going to generally not stay lit, and that's frustrating. So it's really wonderful to see these unity sand ceremonies where couples are scooping up sand from the destination and pouring it together, and there's a wonderful passage that most officiants now have that accompanies it that's very special, and just a great touch for you to offer to your brides and grooms in advance. In the spirit of the fabulous Olympics that you all in Canada have shown the rest of the world, just kind of fun, again, with marrying your passions. This was a graphic from Beijing, but just a fun fact, 9,000 Chinese couples married on opening day in Beijing. I don't really know on 80808 if that happened in Vancouver, but still, I was watching the Today Show this morning, and one of the gold medal winners in one of the skiing episodes or the skiing events proposed to his girlfriend moments after winning the gold medal. So we know that love is in the air and it surrounds everything. iPod weddings, hotter than ever, obviously work great for a destination wedding. Sort of, we call it the DIY DJ. But again, a trend you may want to share with your couples. Something else that's just sort of a fun fact you may want to, again, kind of giving them tips and ideas. Weddingmapper.com is a free wedding map service where brides and grooms can go in and very quickly and easily create these really neat interactive maps that they can send as invitations, that they can send as fun little save the dates, or they can put on their wedding websites as they get closer to the wedding and give their guests an idea of all of the things planned for them. And that's, again, weddingmapper.com. This is, again, a really fun custom map from James and Kate's Grand Cayman wedding last April that a fabulous artist out of California named Laura Hooper creates. She creates them for couples all over the world, and I encourage you to kind of, you know, take a look at what she does and maybe offer that as a value add or a recommendation to your brides. And again, just some other trends. We're seeing brides and grooms really not just going with the cookie cutter package and the cheaper chicken, if you will, but they're really wanting to embrace the culture. They're wanting to serve signature drinks that are reflective of where they are, and the music. They don't want to bring in a band from New York. Instead, they want to have a steel drum band or find out what the native music is and have them be a part of the day. And really, this is a beautiful wedding we did. It was a Hindu wedding that we did in Little Cayman, which is so isolated and far away from everything, but brought in a mundap and brought in all kinds of elements, a henna artist and all sorts of things. And it was, so just to show you that a destination wedding doesn't have to just be barefoot on the beach. It can be colorful and blended and very traditionally cultural as well. And choosing a location, for example, like Grand Cayman, they didn't have to bring in anything from the States. Everything was available to them for a traditional Indian wedding in the Cayman Islands. And again, dramatic getaways are kind of fun. This slide, I probably should have put it in the front, but I kind of want to go back to you. When we go back to overwhelming and brides and stress, understand that the average bride who's planning a traditional wedding in her hometown has an average of 43 vendors and contracts. When they choose a destination wedding, by nature, that number goes way down. And if you think about all of the things that you can then intervene and help them plan for, this is a huge message point to share with them, and one of the great advantages of going with you and doing a destination wedding. And again, this is an actual real bride's calendar, and it shows you just how completely stressed out they are and how much they're looking forward to the honeymoon, and really, again, how much of the stress you can take off their plates by handling things as you get closer and closer to the big day. This is sort of a spin on a question that I think is very important. Of course, you as counselors and partners, you want to say, here is what you may need. But I encourage all of you to put this down and to try to ask this question to every client you have, which is to stop and take a breath and say, you know what do you need me to do? That is a very different question than here is what you might need. Because here's what you might need is what you're assuming, and here's what you might need is a question that very much is telling them what you think they need from you. And to stop and say to the question, you know what do you need me to do for you? What can I do to help you? And you may not be able to do all of it, but even if you can't do it, I know that you're going to be able to find someone for them that will help them, and that is how you turn clients and provide real value to them. I encourage you to use, from our sponsor, the fabulous new website from Cayman Vows. It's caymanvows.ky. This is probably, we think, one of the most robust and best destination wedding websites out there for a destination wedding. It features real weddings. It has all kinds of vendors and all of that good stuff. So I really encourage you to take a look at that. And also, I can't emphasize enough the importance of having strong planning partners. You can't go to every wedding. You can't be there to walk them down the aisle as much as you probably would love to in most cases. For example, in Grand Cayman, there is a planner named Joanne Brown of Celebrations who works directly with travel agents all the time and really is sort of your on-island partner to make the wedding, especially those that aren't on resort, even though she works with resorts as well. And she was just named to Destination Weddings and Honeymoon's first ever A-list of destination wedding planners. You can get this magazine and subscribe online and be able to see the whole thing. But I encourage you to have partners like a Joanne Brown who work directly with travel professionals and never need to work with the bride until they get on site. And there are some real revenue opportunities there as well. But we are so fortunate in the Cayman Islands to have such strong partners, photographers and planners like Joanne and resorts who really take it to the next level and become very strong partners. You're only as good as what happens once that bride and groom gets to their destination. So it's so important for you to have strong partners. And ultimately, it really is all about you. Marketing guru Harry Beckwith says in his book, What Clients Love, people don't hire you for what you do. They hire you for who you are. So just remember that, and remember that as authentic as you can be and as honest as you can be, you will, and you know that that's where clients are going to come back again and again. So with that, Franca, I did it in 57 minutes. And And I don't know, I know I talk really quickly. I tried to be mindful of everyone's time. I know that doesn't leave us a whole lot of time for questions, but I'm certainly here if anyone wants to throw something over on the chat. If you have any questions in specific about what I've talked about, or if you want to unmute yourself, by all means, would love to hear from you. And I hope some of this information's been helpful. And I'm really excited for all of the new opportunities you all continue to have with Ensemble.
Rebecca, thank you very much. It's Franca. You know, I've heard you now about 4 times, and you always, you know, you're so passionate about everything that you do and everything that you say that it just makes us so excited about what we're doing. So if there's anybody out there with questions, you can either send them via chat, or it's a great opportunity to chat with Rebecca right now, because we might not see her up here in Canada for another year. She does visit us every once in a while, but not often. So if anybody has anything at all, she's probably, Rebecca, would you say you've been planning weddings for the last
well, I've been in the business since 1991, so a long time. I date myself, but too long probably. But no, I've been working in the destination business since 1991. Oh, someone just asked if we're doing this again, and you might have missed the first part, but it was recorded, right, Franca? So people will be able.
We will be sending it out to everybody who joined us today and to all the specialists, so that you can listen on your own if you've missed parts of it. And then, Rebecca, Cindy would like to know, would you give everybody? You don't even need Rebecca's email. I would urge you, like we do here, to follow her blog. Incredible. There's so
it's better
much
to follow me on Twitter. I haven't blogged in a while. I've not been so good. Do as I say, not as I do. But blogging is huge, and it literally changed my business, and then I stopped doing it because I was Twittering so much. On Twitter, for those of you who are on Twitter, which if you aren't, I really cannot say enough to you to try to get on and start working it. I'm WedX, which is WEDDEX, so it's at WedX on Twitter. Follow me and I'll follow you back. And we can be friends on Twitter. And I will give you my email, certainly. You know, it's out there. It's Rebecca@engagingconcepts.com. But mostly you can, you know, a lot of things on Twitter, and I'm more than happy to help if there's clarifying questions or things that didn't quite make sense or something that you're having a challenge with.
And the blog is WedX. So
the blog is thewedx.com.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, you've given us a lot to think about today, and just incredible information. A lot of the stats that you did provide for us were for both countries, and I think our team here knows that the Canadian marketplace is just as vibrant as the American marketplace. We've got over 120,000 couples getting married each year, so lots of potential. So, you know, lots of great things to take back with us and start working now the leads that we received from the recent shows, and also the campaign that's just launched on Facebook.
Wonderful. Well, I think there's a bright future ahead for everybody. It's very exciting.
Valerie,
someone wants my Twitter.
Val and everybody else.
My Twitter is, Valerie, my Twitter is WedX. So it's the @ sign, and then it's WEDDEX. So like wedding, not FedEx, but WedX, but 2 Ds.
And we'll post it on the email, the email that we'll send out later today with the presentation and just some general information.
Thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your busy schedules and for bearing with me as I flew through all those slides in 1 hour flat.
Rebecca, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, your weekend, and thank you to all the specialists. And if anybody has any questions relating to this or anything else, feel free to call either myself or Liz at any time, and we will help you. And again, Liz will be in touch with you this week with the pieces that we're missing to complete everything on the website.
Perfect.
Okay, so have a wonderful rest of the day, everyone, and we will keep you up to date on the next series of webinars. And Rebecca and Tammy, thank you for sponsoring this, and we hope to see you soon in Toronto again.
Thank you. I can't wait to come back.
Okay.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Have a good weekend.
You too.